I woke up to the soft hum of my alarm, my heart already racing. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Lara? I called from the bedroom, expecting her usual cheerful smile. Silence. Just silence. I frowned and walked into the bathroom. She was standing in front of the mirror, adjusting her veil. You look beautiful, I said, trying to keep the nervous excitement out of my voice. She didn't turn. Thanks, she muttered. Her eyes weren't meeting mine. Lara, hey, are you okay? I stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. She finally looked at me, but her gaze was distant. I'm fine, she said, but the word hung between us like smoke. Just, don't want you stressed on our wedding day, I said, forcing a smile. She gave me a small nod, but there was something in her eyes I didn't understand. I shook it off. Nerves, I told myself. Wedding jitters. That had to be it. The ceremony started, and my chest tightened with anticipation. Friends, family, strangers, everyone was here, waiting for this perfect moment. I glanced at Lara, standing at the altar with her father. Her hand in his felt like a fragile promise. The officiant smiled warmly. We are gathered here today, my ears tuned out the rest. I only had eyes for her. When it was time to exchange vows, my throat went dry. I cleared it. Lara, from the moment I met you. Her lips moved, and for a second, everything slowed. Lara, take. Damien. My stomach dropped. I blinked, thinking I'd misheard. What? I whispered, my voice barely audible over the murmurs around us. Damien, she said again, louder this time. She looked at me briefly, her eyes empty. A sharp laugh erupted from somewhere behind me. No, it wasn't a laugh. Just a gasp, a collective intake of breath. My mind spun. Did she just? I stumbled backward, barely catching myself. Lara, what did you just say? She swallowed, fidgeting with the ring on her finger. I didn't mean. Didn't mean what? I snapped, anger and disbelief twisting my chest. You just said another man's name. In front of everyone. My wedding. My vows. I'm sorry, Sorry. My voice cracked, more from pain than fury. Sorry. Do you even understand what you've done? She looked down, quiet now, as though words could erase the betrayal. From the side, her mother whispered sharply, Lara, behave. I could hear the shuffling of guests. Whispered murmurs filled the hall. I felt the sting of humiliation, but beneath it, an icy resolve began to form. I couldn't stay here, not like this. I need a minute, I said, stepping away. My legs felt like lead as I exited the room. The laughter and whispers followed me like daggers. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes. My hands shook. Rage? Heartbreak? Both. I couldn't tell anymore. I had imagined a lifetime with her, and now it lay in ruins in a single, whispered word. She whispered Damien's name, a guest muttered nearby. Can you believe it? I heard more whispers, more speculation. Every word pierced deeper than the last. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I only pressed my forehead against the cool wall and tried to breathe. After what felt like hours, I finally straightened. My chest was tight, my mind buzzing. The humiliation burned, but something else flickered in the shadows of my mind, a vow. I clenched my fists. I will make this right. Somehow. I didn't know how yet. I didn't know what it would cost. But I knew one thing, I wouldn't let this moment define me. Not her. Not Damien. Not anyone. I turned and walked out of the venue, the murmurs fading behind me. Outside, the sunlight hit my face, and for the first time that day, I felt a spark of clarity amid the chaos. The betrayal was real. The pain was real. But so was my determination. I would rebuild. I would take control. And one day, they would see the consequences of their choices. For now, I just kept walking, letting the words she whispered echo in my mind like a challenge. Damien. And somewhere deep inside, I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I knew the game had just begun. "Hey, you okay?" my brother asked, hovering at the doorway like he didn't know whether to step in or run. "Yeah," I said, but my voice cracked before I could stop it. "Don't sound like it," he said. "Come on, sit down. Mom made breakfast." I shook my head. "I'm not hungry." He sighed and grabbed a chair anyway. "Look, I know I can't fix this, but you don't have to go through it alone." I stared at the floor. "Fix it? Nothing can fix it, okay?" She whispered his name, his. In front of everyone. Everyone. "You can't blame yourself for that," he said softly. "You didn't make her do it." "I trusted her," I muttered. The words tasted like ash. I believed her. "You'll get through this," he said. "You always do." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. The betrayal burned too hot in my chest. Later, my friends called. "Hey, man, dinner tonight?" one asked cheerfully, oblivious. "Can't," I said. "Not in the mood." "Come on, we'll get your mind off things," another voice chimed in. I laughed bitterly. My mind isn't off things. It stuck, replaying the same moment. Over and over. Her lips moving. The name. "Damien," my sister said suddenly, sharp, almost accusing. I saw her whisper it. "That guy from that company, your rival?" "I mean, seriously?" I froze. "Yeah. Damien. That's him." There it was, the name I'd been trying not to speak aloud. The man I thought I respected professionally had just wormed his way into my life in the most humiliating way imaginable. I called Lara later. I needed answers. Needed her to explain. My hands shook when I dialed. "Hello?" she said, casual, as if nothing had happened. "Lara, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Now." "Oh, okay," she said. Her hesitation was tiny, but it was there. I didn't waste time. "Why? Why him?" I don't know," she said. Her words stumbled out like they were afraid of being honest. "I'm confused about my feelings." "Confused?" I laughed without humor. "Confused? We were getting married. We were supposed to." I stopped myself before I yelled. "Breathe. Do you realize what you've done?" "I know it was wrong," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you." Hurt me?" I cut in. "Hurt me? You humiliated me in front of everyone I care about." She stopped herself, silence filling the line. "You don't even know why you did it, do you?" I asked, bitter. "You just said a name and destroyed everything." I think I just. "I don't know what I want anymore," she said, voice shaky. "You don't know what you want. That's your excuse." My fists clenched. "I trusted you. Everyone trusted you. And you chose him. Damien. Of all people." "I'm sorry," she said, quiet, almost pleading. "Sorry doesn't cut it," I said. "It won't. Not for what I've lost." I hung up. The dial tone echoed louder than her apology. I paced my apartment, trying to think. Damien. The name burned in my mind. Calm, confident, probably smirking somewhere, completely unaware of what he'd done to me. Or maybe he was aware and didn't care. Knowing him, that was more likely. He had ambition, charm, the kind of man who sees opportunity and takes it without thinking of consequences. I needed a plan. Not just to cope with Lara's betrayal but to regain control of my life. I couldn't let this break me. I wouldn't. I called my lawyer friend. I need advice. Not legal advice, I said. Something else. Strategy. How to take control. Control over what? He asked. Over my life. Over what they think they've done to me. Over Damien. My voice hardened. I want to make this right. You're talking revenge, he said cautiously. Call it that if you want, I said. I'm calling it self-preservation. I spent the night researching Damien. LinkedIn, company filings, news articles. Every detail I could find. I discovered his strengths, weaknesses, reputation. He was respected, yes. But he was ambitious, ruthless, and had never faced someone willing to fight him head-on. That could change. I knew I couldn't let anger blind me, but I let it fuel me instead. It sharpened my focus, made my mind move faster, clearer. I wasn't just broken, I was awake. When morning came, I looked in the mirror. My face was drawn, my eyes red, but I wasn't defeated. Not yet. I picked up my phone. Step 1, I whispered to myself. Find out everything about Damien. And just like that, the first spark of a plan ignited. Betrayal had destroyed my wedding, yes. But it would also be the force that rebuilt me, stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than either of them expected. Damien. That name wouldn't leave my mind. And I wouldn't let him forget it. Marcus, can we push the Henderson project deadline? I asked my assistant, trying to focus on work. You've been working non-stop, Marcus said, frowning. Maybe you need a break. I don't do breaks, I muttered, staring at my screen. Not today. He raised an eyebrow. Okay, but don't burn out. I didn't answer. My mind was somewhere else, somewhere dangerous. Damien. That smug expression, confident, unbothered. He had no idea what I was capable of. I called my colleague, Natalie. Hey, you have a minute? For you. Always, she said. I need details on Damien's company. Everything, financials, operations, employee structure. I want weak spots, not public info, anything you can dig up. Whoa, she laughed softly. Going after him already? He humiliated me, I said sharply. No, he tried to humiliate me. I want to know how to make sure it doesn't happen again. Got it, she said, excitement creeping into her voice. Give me a few days. You're serious, huh? Very serious, I replied. And careful. Discretion is everything. Later, I went over reports. Look at this, I said to Marcus, pointing at a chart. Revenue dipped here, and employee turnover spikes there. There's opportunity. Marcus leaned closer. You're thinking of buying them? Maybe, I said. Not for profit. Not for growth. For perspective. Perspective, he asked. I want control, I said, voice low. Over him, over the situation. Over everything he thinks he can manipulate. He shook his head slowly. Bold move. You sure you're ready? I've never been more ready, I said. I took a deep breath. My gaze drifted to Lara's face from that cursed wedding photo. She didn't even flinch when she said his name. Selfish. Reckless. She'd always chosen what made her feel good, never considering consequences. Lara, I whispered under my breath, tasting the name. You think you're clever. I mapped out Damien's company structure in my office. Employees loyal to him here, I muttered. Weak managers there. Revenue streams easily manipulated, yes. Marcus looked over my shoulder. You're obsessed. Focused, I corrected. There's a difference. Natalie called. I've got something. Damien's pushing a risky expansion, investor worries, mismanagement in a few departments. You can exploit this if you want. Perfect, I said, my pulse quickening. Keep it quiet. Not a word to anyone. She chuckled. Quiet is my middle name. I leaned back in my chair, imagining Damien receiving the news, his empire slipping, slowly, meticulously, while he thought everything was perfect. Satisfaction curled in my chest. Not hatred, not vengeance, clarity. I paused and picked up my phone. Lara, I said, dialing her number impulsively. Yes, she answered, as casual as ever. Why him? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Why did you choose Damien? There was a pause. I don't know. I thought he cared. I thought I felt something I didn't feel with you. You thought. I laughed bitterly. You thought. You destroyed everything on a thought. I didn't plan it, she said softly. It just happened. I closed my eyes. You're reckless. Selfish. And now I see it clearly. You never really cared about me. Or maybe you did, but you never respected me. Not fully. Maybe I. No. Don't speak, I said, cutting her off. Just, stay out of my way. This isn't about you. It's about what comes next. When I hung up, I felt a spark, tiny, sharp, but growing. Control. Power. The ability to turn the tables. Not out of greed, not for money. But for justice of a sort that only I could define. I spoke aloud to no one but myself. I'll buy the company. Damien's company. Not for growth. Not for profit. For reckoning. Marcus raised his eyebrow. You just said it out loud. Yes, I said, standing. And it's real. Every detail I've gathered, every weakness, every mistake he's made, everything will work in my favor. I won't rush it. I'll be precise. Natalie chimed in over my laptop. You've got this. It's going to be messy for him. Deliciously messy. I smirked. Good. Let it be messy. Let him feel the consequences of arrogance. Let him understand that he can't touch me. Not now. Not ever. I leaned back, letting the plan form in my mind, a puzzle coming together piece by piece. Damien thought he had the upper hand. Lara thought she could get away with carelessness. Both were wrong. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about proving to myself that I could rise from betrayal stronger than before. Smarter. Untouchable. And when the time came, they would see. They would all see. I would take control. And it would start with Damien. Thanks for coming on such short notice, I said, shaking hands with Victor, one of my potential investors. Don't thank me yet, he said, leaning back. You're talking about Damien's company. Risky. You sure about this? I'm sure, I said, my tone firm. I don't care about the risk. I care about control. Victor raised an eyebrow. Control. Yes. Control over what he thinks he owns, over the situation he created. That's what matters. He chuckled. Ambition like yours is dangerous. But I like dangerous. I smiled. Then we're aligned. Later, I met with Carla, my lawyer. I want everything discreet, I said, spreading documents across the table. No leaks. No surprises. Carla adjusted her glasses. I can handle that. But you know, what you're doing, this isn't just a business move. It's personal. Personal. I laughed, low and bitter. It's about justice. About not letting arrogance walk over me. Damien's mistakes, they have consequences. That's all. She studied me, her gaze sharp. And Lara? I frowned. I don't want her involved. She's irrelevant. What matters is him, the company, and my move. Carla nodded. Understood. I'll draft the agreements, approach investors quietly. You'll have leverage before he even notices. I left her office and ran into Sophia in the lobby. Sophia, I said, surprised but not hiding the tension in my voice. I heard, she said softly, eyes serious. Going after him, I assume. I nodded. It's the only way to get control back. I can't let him think he's untouchable. Sophia sighed. I've known you a long time. You're smart, capable, but this path, revenge, it changes people. You need to ask yourself who you want to be, not just what you want to do. I crossed my arms. I know exactly who I am. I'm someone who refuses to be humiliated. Someone who doesn't let betrayal win. She shook her head. And yet, make sure you don't lose yourself in the process. There's a line between justice and obsession. Don't cross it. I looked away, inwardly dismissing her warning. I'll be careful, I muttered, though even I knew it was a half-truth. Back in my office, I dialed Marcus. Status on investor meetings? All confirmed, he said. Victor and 3 others are ready to discuss backing the acquisition. They're cautious but intrigued. Your reasoning appeals to them. Good. Proceed carefully. Keep Damien unaware. Every move must be calculated. I understand, Marcus said. You're laser-focused. It's impressive. I hung up and leaned back in my chair, imagining Damien's face when he realizes someone else has influence over his empire. Satisfaction warmed me like a small fire, sharp and bright. The phone rang again, Natalie. I've got the intel on the board members. Their loyalties are split. If we time it right, you can sway the vote before Damien even suspects a threat. Perfect, I said. Coordinate it. Discreetly. We can't leave anything to chance. Understood. This is going to shake him, she said, a hint of excitement in her voice. I smiled, letting the thought linger. Not out of hatred, not for cruelty, but for balance. He thought he had the upper hand. I was about to remind him otherwise. Sophia's words echoed in my head as I reviewed my strategy. Don't lose yourself. I shook it off. I'm not losing, I whispered. I'm taking control. Later that evening, I met briefly with Victor again. Timing is critical, I said. We strike when Damien is complacent. The expansion project? That's our leverage. Victor nodded. You've thought this through. I like that. Let's move carefully, but decisively. I'll make introductions, get the financing lined up. I clenched my fists, feeling power coil inside me. Good. Everything must be precise. He won't see it coming. Not until it's too late. Carla called after me. Drafts are ready. Investors briefed. Discretion maintained. Damien's company is vulnerable. I smiled at the word vulnerable. Exactly as planned. Every detail, every mistake, every weakness, it's all part of the path. Sophia's warning surfaced again, soft but persistent. Don't let revenge define you. I shook my head, walking out of the office into the cool night. It doesn't define me, I muttered aloud. It sharpens me. I'll be smarter. Faster. Stronger. And when the time comes, Damien will realize the cost of underestimating me. I paused, looking at the city lights. Every move I make now, I whispered, is mine to control. And I won't stop until I've won. For the first time since the wedding, I felt clarity. The pain, the betrayal, the anger, they had a purpose now. A plan. And it started here. The first move. "Did you hear?" a colleague whispered as I entered the office. "Damien's company is facing a takeover bid." I raised an eyebrow, letting the words settle. "Interesting," I said casually. "Interesting," they laughed nervously. "He's scrambling. Investors are nervous. This is huge." I leaned back in my chair. "Yes. And he underestimates the person behind it." Marcus called later that morning. "He knows something's up," he said. "Damien's asking questions, making moves, but he doesn't know who's pulling strings. Yet." "Good," I said, sipping my coffee. "Let him think it's a generic investor. Let him sweat. We're not finished, and he doesn't even see it." I checked the newsfeed quietly. There she was, Lara, sitting across from Damien in a glossy article, smiling, leaning too close. Yet, even in the picture, I could see cracks. He was lecturing her, fingers tapping impatiently, a scowl creasing his forehead. Later, I overheard her call him. "Damien, please." "I didn't mean." "You didn't mean," his voice cut sharp over the line. "You didn't mean anything when you agreed. You think charm and apologies fix business. They don't. I'm not." "Stop," he snapped. "Stop wasting my time. Control isn't given. It's taken." I smiled to myself, low and slow. "Control," I murmured. He understood the word in theory, but not in practice. He was arrogant, blinded by ambition. Just like she said he'd be. Marcus walked in, shaking his head. "You're enjoying this too much." "I'm observing," I said. "Patterns. Behavior. Flaws. He can't hide them forever." Across the office, Natalie updated me. "Board members are hesitant, Damien's employees are uneasy. Your influence is spreading, quietly, subtly. He doesn't realize the pressure yet." "Good," I said, tapping my pen. "Pressure is exactly what he needs. Arrogance breaks under it." That evening, I met Sophia for a quick coffee. "You're moving fast," she said, eyes narrowing. "I see your plan unfolding. But don't let satisfaction blind you. Observing Lara and Damien's troubles isn't the same as justice." "I'm aware," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "It's strategy, not gloating. I don't celebrate failures, I capitalize on them." "Watch yourself," she warned. "Ambition without reflection is dangerous. The path you're on, it can consume you if you're not careful." "I've been consumed," I said quietly. "But now, I'm steering the fire, not letting it steer me." Back in my office, I called Carla. "How's the voting leverage coming?" "All board members contacted. Several are receptive. Damien's expansion mistakes are being questioned quietly. Influence is slipping into place," she replied. "Perfect," I said. "Make sure nothing leaks." We moved decisively, but cleanly. Later that week, Damien finally reached out. "I hear there's interest in my company," he said, smooth but sharp. "Whoever is behind this. I'd like to talk." "Of course," I said, voice even. "I'm just a concerned investor, interested in growth, nothing personal." He chuckled. "Nothing personal? Funny. Business is always personal." "Yes," I said, keeping my tone light. "But this isn't about ego. It's about opportunity." He paused, probing. "I hope you understand what you're doing. My company isn't just numbers. It's people, legacy." "I understand perfectly," I said. "And I respect that. That's why I'm taking a careful approach. You'll see soon enough." After the call, I leaned back, feeling the slow tightening of control. Every move, every subtle nudge of influence, was working. The board, the investors, even Damien's own employees were part of the plan without knowing it. Later, I caught Lara's expression over another article, her hand brushing nervously through her hair, Damien's gaze cold across the table. "You okay?" I muttered under my breath, smirking. "Not so perfect now, are you?" But I paused. Watching wasn't enough. I had to stay controlled. The wedding taught me the cost of letting emotion dictate action. Every step had to be deliberate, calculated. I reminded myself, satisfaction can wait. Strategy cannot. Marcus entered, holding a report. They're questioning expansion budgets, leadership decisions. Damien's trying damage control, but he's missing the root cause. Root cause? I asked, feigning curiosity. Yes, Marcus said. Your subtle maneuvers are causing ripples. He's reacting, but he can't pinpoint it yet. I smiled faintly. Exactly. Let him flounder. Let him feel the edges of control slipping. He won't notice until it's too late. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I reflected. The humiliation from the wedding, the betrayal, it mirrored these struggles perfectly. Emotional chaos then, corporate tension now. Poetic symmetry, almost satisfying. I whispered aloud, letting the words solidify my resolve. This is justice. Not revenge. Not cruelty. Control. Balance. Karma. And as I finally closed my laptop, a slow smile spread. Damien didn't know it yet, but the tide had shifted. The first moves were done. The groundwork laid. When tomorrow came, the game would continue, and every decision, every tiny misstep he made, would play into my hands. The reckoning is in motion. The meeting room smelled of polished wood and stale coffee. Damien sat at the head of the table, posture perfect, eyes scanning the charts I'd already memorized. "Good morning," he said smoothly, but his tone carried an edge I hadn't noticed before. "I hear there's new interest in the company." I smiled faintly, sitting across from him. "Yes, Damien. There's been interest. And I've been following closely." He raised an eyebrow. "Following? Investor curiosity is one thing. You sound personal." "I'm simply invested in understanding," I said, keeping my voice light, controlled. "Growth, stability, leadership, those are my priorities. Nothing more." "Of course," he said, smirking, though it faltered slightly. "You're a smart observer. I respect that." I leaned forward, letting the tension hang between us. "Observation only goes so far, Damien. Influence, that's different." His eyes flicked to the charts on the screen. "I don't follow." I let my fingers tap lightly on the table. "You'll notice soon enough. Board members, investors, many have already aligned perspectives with me. Subtle, but significant. Decisions now require more than your say." He blinked, slow, deliberate. "You're implying that I have weight," I said simply. "Not hostile, not malicious, just necessary. To maintain balance." His jaw tightened. "Balance? You think balance means undermining me?" "No," I said, voice calm. "Balance means ensuring mistakes don't go unchecked. Leadership isn't only about vision, it's about accountability." The room went quiet. A few colleagues shifted, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Damien's confident smirk flickered, replaced by a thin line of unease. "Are you threatening me?" he asked, a hint of anger creeping into his voice. I shook my head. "No threats. Just reality. One you've overlooked. Oversight is a two-way street. I happen to have leverage now." He ran a hand through his hair. "Leverage. You've played the cards, but this isn't the endgame, is it?" I smiled faintly. Endgame is too dramatic. Let's call it influence. I've ensured the company's decisions can't ignore perspective beyond your own. That's all. He leaned back, exhaling sharply. I underestimated you. You did, I said softly, letting the words linger. And it's not arrogance to admit it. Just a lesson learned. The door opened quietly, and Lara stepped in. She froze the moment she saw me, eyes widening as recognition, and disbelief, flashed across her face. You're here, she whispered, almost to herself. Yes, I said, not turning to her. I am. Her gaze swept Damien, then back to me. How? I shrugged lightly. It's not important how. What matters is that the dynamics you abandon now reflect back. Choices have consequences. Damien's eyes narrowed at her. Lara? She bit her lip. I didn't realize. You didn't realize? I repeated, letting a hint of cold amusement creep into my voice. You didn't see how far I could go. How carefully I could plan. She looked down, shame coloring her cheeks. I miscalculated everything. Regret is a powerful teacher, I said softly, more to myself than anyone else. But satisfaction from it, that's limited. Empty, really. Damien's voice was sharp. You've maneuvered well. I see that. But don't think this changes the fundamentals. This is business. Not personal. I leaned in, letting my eyes meet his. Business and personal aren't mutually exclusive, Damien. Actions, betrayals, decisions, they intertwine. You'll feel the effects. Carefully. Slowly. But unmistakably. He swallowed. You're formidable. Formidable enough to remind you that oversight isn't weakness, I said. And that arrogance, your arrogance, can cost more than you expect. Lara flinched at my words, realizing that my rise wasn't just financial. It was strategic, psychological. She'd underestimated me, just as Damien had, and the reckoning was already in motion. I paused, letting silence fill the room. The weight of everything, the wedding, the betrayal, the months of planning, settled in. Triumph should feel sweet. Relief should follow. Yet I felt empty. Sophia's warning echoed in my mind, revenge can consume you if you're not careful. I shook it off briefly. This isn't about vengeance, I murmured, almost to convince myself. It's about ensuring the right outcomes. Damien exhaled slowly, the first cracks of humility showing. I misjudged the situation, and you. That's clear now. Yes, I said simply. Clear, and deliberate. I don't gloat. I just act. Lara looked at me, her eyes glistening. I thought I knew you. You knew a version of me, I said softly. But not the one forged by betrayal and strategy. Not the one who survives and recalibrates. The meeting ended quietly. People filed out, murmuring, sensing the subtle shift in authority, the new balance of power. Damien lingered, staring at me, ego bruised but still calculating. Lara approached me as the room cleared. I didn't expect this, she said quietly. I know, I replied, voice even but distant. And you won't be able to ignore it now. But understand this, victory in strategy isn't always satisfying. It doesn't heal. It doesn't fill the void left by betrayal. She nodded, a mix of regret and realization painting her expression. I turned away, feeling the truth in my own words. I had won intellectually, strategically, decisively, but emotionally. That was another story entirely. And maybe, just maybe, the cost of obsession was starting to show. Revenge is precise. Justice is cold. Satisfaction is fleeting. Marcus, the new board alignment is solid, I said, tapping a folder. Damien's losing influence faster than he realizes. He frowned. You're not going to push him completely under. I'm considering my options, I replied. There's a difference between control and cruelty. Marcus shook his head. You've become different. Focused, yes, but colder. Cold isn't the same as calculating, I said, voice low. I want results, not grudges. There's a line. Later, I overheard a conference call Damien had with his managers. You need to focus on execution, he barked. Expansion targets, deadlines, I don't want excuses. I expect results. Sir, one manager hesitated. We've been realigning priorities based on new board directives. Directives, he snapped. I am the directive. Follow me. I leaned back in my chair, suppressing a smirk. He didn't know I'd already influenced the board. They were simply following my guidance, quietly. Marcus walked over. You're enjoying this too much. Not enjoying, I corrected. Observing. There's a difference. Natalie called with an update. Employees loyal to Damien are questioning leadership. A few are talking about leaving. The board's shifting perspective subtly. He's starting to feel pressure. Perfect, I said softly. Pressure reveals truth. Weakness. And arrogance always cracks first. Later, Lara appeared at my office door. I need to talk, she said, voice trembling. I didn't respond immediately, letting the silence stretch. She stepped in anyway. I know what you've done. I've seen it. Damien, he's different with me now. Arrogant. Distant. You. I cut in, voice firm. You mean you realized too late that your choices have consequences? Her words faltered. I was wrong. I should've. You should have done what? I asked. Stayed loyal. Stayed honest. You didn't. You abandoned trust for convenience, for excitement. You can't erase that now. Her eyes glistened. I just want a chance to. I don't know, fix things. I miss what we had. I shook my head slowly. What we had? That ended the moment you whispered his name. I don't live in the past. I don't give chances to selfishness disguised as regret. She flinched, then whispered, I see that now. Stop, I said sharply. Don't make excuses for the decisions you already made. Karma is not my job. You already know it exists. Live with it. Learn from it. Lara looked down, silence filling the room. I could see her vacillation, the selfishness I had learned to recognize months ago. My chest tightened briefly, not from anger, but from clarity. I wasn't her prisoner anymore. That evening, Marcus and I reviewed the latest financials. Damien's losing client confidence, he said. You've pushed him into a corner. Not pushed, I corrected. Allowed natural consequences to surface. I've only highlighted reality. I won't interfere further unless necessary. Marcus frowned. You're letting go. Yes, I said. Closure matters more than humiliation. The satisfaction of watching someone suffer fades. Freedom lasts. Later, I spoke with Natalie. Keep monitoring, I said. But don't manipulate unnecessarily. Let them experience the fallout on their own. Subtle guidance only if critical. Understood, she said. You're really stepping back. I nodded. I need my life back. The obsession almost consumed me. It still whispers sometimes, but I can see clearly now. My focus shifts to rebuilding myself. I sat quietly, reflecting. The thrill of strategy, the power, the revenge, it had been intoxicating. But beneath it all, emptiness lingered. Not victory, not satisfaction, just the echo of what betrayal cost me and what obsession almost did. Sophia called, her voice calm but knowing. "I see you found balance." "Trying," I admitted. The temptation to crush them completely was strong. But it wouldn't have helped me. It would have trapped me in the same darkness they created. "Exactly," she said. "Sometimes, the wisest move is restraint. Let life unfold, let people face the consequences of their choices naturally." "I see that now," I said. "And it feels liberating. Not empty, just measured. I can finally breathe without plotting every step." Marcus checked in one last time for the day. "Board is stabilizing. Damien's influence waning. You've done what needed to be done." "Yes," I said, exhaling slowly. "But more importantly, I've reclaimed myself. That's the true victory." That night, I walked through the city streets alone. Cool air against my face, lights reflecting off windows, traffic humming softly. I felt a weight lift. Power, control, strategy, they were useful, necessary. But obsession and rage? Those I left behind. I whispered to no one, the storm has passed. Karma has its course. My life, my freedom, finally matters. I paused near the river, watching reflections ripple across the water. Closure isn't about revenge. It's about release. And I choose to let go. No calls, no reminders, no lingering anger. Just quiet. Just clarity. Tomorrow would bring work, challenges, maybe new surprises. But for the first time in months, I wasn't bound to a past of betrayal or a future of vengeance. I felt it then, light, steadiness, something I hadn't experienced since before the wedding. Relief, yes, but stronger. A freedom forged from patience, strategy, and finally, self-restraint. I smiled faintly. I'm free. Truly free. And for the first time in a long time, that felt enough. Marcus walked into my office, holding the latest reports. Damien's clients are pulling out. The board's confidence is gone. He's isolated. I nodded slowly, folding my hands. And yet I don't celebrate. Justice doesn't need my applause. He frowned. Not even a little satisfaction. Not when it's already happening, I said, voice calm. Letting him face the consequences himself is more effective than gloating. Natalie entered with a tablet. Financial strain is mounting. Some investors are withdrawing entirely. Damien's reputation is taking hits. It's almost poetic. I glanced at her. Poetic, yes. But I can't let emotion cloud judgment. Observing karma unfold is different from interfering. Later, I received an email. Lara's message flashed on the screen, I see what I've done. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed a single sentence, there's nothing to say. Actions speak louder than words. She replied almost immediately, I understand. I didn't respond. Silence was my choice, my way of letting the weight of her decision settle naturally. Marcus leaned against the doorframe. You're really walking away from this? Completely? Yes, I said. Closure isn't humiliation. It's freedom. I've earned my peace. Let them learn theirs. That evening, Sophia called. I hear the tide has shifted, she said, voice warm. You've handled everything, admirably. I've learned, I admitted. That control and revenge only fill the gaps temporarily. Peace comes from restraint. From letting life run its course. Her voice softened. I'm proud of you. You've transformed anger into wisdom. I smiled faintly. It took months of heartbreak, calculation, and observation. But it was worth it. A few days later, I visited Damien's office, not to confront, but to deliver documents professionally. He looked up, tired, eyes shadowed. "I assume you're here to finalize your audit and transition documents," I said, voice neutral. "No commentary. No theatrics. Just facts." He nodded, swallowing. "You've handled this better than I expected. I underestimated you." "Everyone underestimates what they cannot predict," I said. "Learn from it. I won't intervene beyond this. Your actions have consequences. You'll feel them fully." He nodded again, quieter this time. "Understood." I left, leaving him with the documents and his own reflection. No gloating. No remarks. Just silent justice. Later, I met Lara by chance at a cafe. She hesitated, then said softly, "I never realized the extent of what I broke." I see now." I looked at her calmly. "You always had the chance to act differently. You chose otherwise. That choice defines you, not me." Her eyes glistened. I'm sorry." "I accept that you're sorry," I said. "But acceptance doesn't change the past. It just allows you to live with it and learn. I've moved on." She nodded slowly. "You've grown." "Yes," I said, voice firm but gentle. "I have. Pain taught me clarity. Betrayal taught me focus. Revenge taught me restraint." Walking home later, I reflected on the months behind me. The wedding day, her betrayal, Damien's arrogance, it all led here. A balance of justice, personal growth, and understanding. I no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. At home, I sorted through old papers, letters, and reminders of my previous life. Each one I touched, I let go, not discarded, but acknowledged. They were memories, lessons, and reminders of who I had been and who I had become. Marcus called that night. "You seem at peace." "I am," I admitted. "It's quiet, yes, but not empty. I have friends, purpose, and perspective. I've rebuilt priorities. I'm finally living for myself, not for retaliation or control." Natalie dropped by the office the next day. "It's strange," she said, smiling. "The company feels lighter now. Your calm has influenced everyone." I nodded. Stability isn't about dominance. It's about consistency, foresight, and sometimes, letting silence do the work. Even Damien's downfall was quiet. No dramatic confrontation, no public humiliation, just the natural unraveling of actions and choices. And I understood, finally, that true power lay not in crushing others, but in mastering oneself. Sophia met me for a final reflection. "You've reclaimed yourself," she said. "That's the hardest victory." "Yes," I said, looking out the window. Everything else, revenge, strategy, observation, was preparation. The real transformation was internal. I've survived betrayal, heartbreak, and ambition's edge. Now, I choose life beyond them. That evening, I called a few old friends. We laughed, shared stories, planned simple joys. For the first time in months, my heart wasn't tethered to anger or loss. As night fell, I whispered to myself, "This is enough. Silence speaks. Justice exists in consequence. And I am free." I closed my eyes, letting the quiet wash over me. No celebration, no gloating, just stillness, clarity, and the peaceful knowledge that I had emerged whole, wiser, and finally unbound. Heartbreak led to growth. Rage led to clarity. Revenge led to wisdom. And silence, justice. I walked along the riverside, the bench where Lara and I had shared countless afternoons coming into view. It was empty now, quiet except for the occasional ripple in the water. I sat down, letting the cool breeze brush against my face. Funny, I whispered to myself, how empty spaces can feel full of memory. A jogger passed by. Beautiful day, isn't it? He said, smiling briefly. I nodded. Yes. It is. The bench creaked as I leaned back, thinking aloud, months ago, I couldn't have imagined feeling this, light. Free from the shadows of betrayal and obsession. A woman walking her dog paused nearby. You okay? She asked. I smiled faintly. Better than okay. I'm alive, I suppose. And grateful for it. She nodded and moved on. I let the quiet return, stretching my legs, feeling the sun on my shoulders. Marcus's voice came to mind from weeks ago, freedom lasts longer than revenge. I chuckled softly. He was right. I had power, strategy, and influence, but now, I had myself. That mattered more than any victory over Damien or Lara. I pulled out my phone. Notifications flooded the screen, work emails, messages from friends, a few invitations to events. I hadn't ignored life, I had paused long enough to reclaim it. Natalie called. Evening check-in, she said. Board is stable, employees motivated, you seem different. I am, I admitted. Calmer. I've stopped measuring everything in terms of control and retaliation. You sound peaceful. I am, I said. It's strange, but peace is powerful. It feels stronger than revenge ever did. Later, Sophia called. Her voice was warm, teasing even. So, Mr. Strategist, are you finally enjoying life beyond the chessboard? I think I am, I said, smiling. I've realized the game doesn't end with victory or defeat. It ends with choice. And I choose joy, simplicity, and perhaps curiosity. Sophia laughed softly. Good answer. You've earned it. Don't let anyone, past or present, take it away from you. I won't, I promised. A soft laugh drew my attention. A young woman was reading on the bench next to mine. She looked up, noticing me. Beautiful evening, she said. I nodded. It is. Perfect for reflection. She smiled, tucking her hair behind her ear. I used to come here a lot, with someone. Feels strange seeing it alone sometimes. I smiled faintly, a shadow of empathy crossing my face. I know that feeling. Being alone doesn't have to mean being empty, though. Sometimes it's liberation. She tilted her head, curious. Liberation? Yes, I said. When past mistakes, heartbreaks, and betrayals don't control your thoughts anymore. When you can breathe without obsession. When you can just be. Her smile widened. That's inspiring. I leaned back, letting the wind carry my words. It took time, reflection, and patience. And it still takes care, because freedom isn't permanent unless you nurture it. The woman nodded, tucking her book aside. I hope to find that someday. You will, I said confidently. It's worth the effort. I watched the sun begin to dip, painting gold across the water. For months, I'd lived in tension, in the wake of anger and betrayal, plotting and observing. Now, I was just living. A friend from work called, inviting me to a casual dinner. I know it's short notice, she said, but it feels like we need some normalcy. Laughter, food, no business. I'll be there, I said. I'd like that. Later, I reflected on everything, Lara's betrayal, Damien's arrogance, the months of strategy, the quiet victories, the subtle heartbreaks. Every moment led me here, to freedom, self-awareness, and emotional control. I looked at the bench, empty now but holding echoes of the past. This time, I whispered, I'm the one in control. Not the heartbreak, not the anger, not anyone else. A breeze rustled the leaves above me. It's strange, I continued, how the same place can witness both pain and healing. I've walked through both, and now I can finally step forward without fear. I stood, brushing my hands against my coat. The river shimmered in the fading light, reflecting possibilities. No obsession. No lingering resentment. Just clarity. As I walked down the path, a faint smile curved my lips. Life isn't about revenge. It's about moving forward, sometimes alone, sometimes with others who truly matter. And I choose forward. The city lights began to sparkle across the water, and I realized I wasn't just free, I was ready. Ready to laugh again, to trust cautiously, to enjoy moments without measuring them against past wounds. A group of friends waved from across the street. "Marcus. You coming?" I waved back, stepping toward them. "On my way." As I walked, I whispered softly, echoing the words I once heard at a wedding I'd lost, "I am free. And this time, my destiny is mine." I paused briefly, looking at the river one last time, then moved forward with steady steps. The past would remain, but it no longer ruled me. I felt alive, complete, and ready for the unknown joys ahead. Heartbreak led to growth. Betrayal led to clarity. Revenge led to wisdom. And now, life leads to me.